The chamber was silent. 300 delegates from 32 different species sat in their floating seats, arranged in a massive circle that rose toward a ceiling made of pure crystal. Light from distant stars filtered through, casting everything in a cold blue glow. Nari stood alone in the center of this chamber. She was the last human ambassador to the Galactic Council. She wore a simple dark uniform with Earth's symbol on her shoulder. Her hands were folded behind her back. Her face showed nothing. Elder Tovar floated down from his seat at the highest point of the chamber. He was ancient, even by the standards of his long-lived species. His skin was pale gray, stretched thin over a skull that seemed too large for his body. His eyes were black pools that reflected no light. "Ambassador Lee," he said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "The council has reached its decision." Nari did not move. She had been expecting this moment for 3 years. The debates, the accusations, the fear that spread through galactic society like a disease. She had watched it all happen, and she had known how it would end. By unanimous vote, Tovar continued, the Galactic Council has declared that humanity is to be exiled from all galactic affairs. Your species is forbidden from entering galactic space. Your trade agreements are ended. Your colony rights are removed. You will leave, and you will not return. A murmur passed through the chamber. Some delegates leaned forward, eager to see how the human would react. Others looked away, perhaps ashamed of what they had done. Tovar's black eyes fixed on Nari. "Do you have anything to say?" Nari took a slow breath. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of species that had once called themselves humanity's friends. The Korath, who had traded technology with Earth for 50 years. The Valori, who had invited human artists to their academies. The Myran, who had fought alongside human soldiers in the border wars. Not all of them had voted yes. "We understand," Nari said. Her voice was calm and clear. "We will leave." Tovar blinked. This was not the reaction he had expected. The council had prepared for anger. They had prepared for threats, for tears, for desperate negotiations. They had positioned warships around the station, ready to respond to human aggression. "You accept this?" Tovar asked. "You have made your decision," Nari said. "We respect it. We will honor it. Earth and all human colonies will withdraw from galactic space within 72 standard hours." She bowed once, a gesture of formal farewell, and then turned and walked toward the exit. "Wait," called Ambassador Revan from the Korath delegation. He was younger than most delegates, and he had been the only one to speak against the exile during debates. "Ambassador Lee, please. You must understand our position. Your species is simply too dangerous," Nari finished for him. She stopped but did not turn around. "Yes, we have heard this word many times. We are too dangerous, too aggressive, too unpredictable." She paused. "Perhaps you are right." She walked out of the chamber without looking back. The doors closed behind her with a soft sound that seemed too gentle for such a moment. In the chamber, the delegates sat in uncomfortable silence. Elder Tovar returned to his seat slowly, his ancient mind troubled by thoughts he could not name. "That was too easy," whispered the Moran delegate to his assistant. "Humans never give up that easily. They are planning something." But they were not planning anything. They were simply leaving. 12 hours later, Commander Kang Junho stood on the bridge of the orbital station New Seoul, watching the feed from 1,000 different cameras. Across the galaxy, human ships were moving. Cargo vessels loaded supplies. Transport ships filled with civilians. Military cruisers took defensive positions to protect the evacuation. Junho was 63 years old, but he still stood straight and strong. His hair was gray at the temples, and deep lines marked his face. He had spent 40 years serving Earth, first as a soldier, then as a commander. He had fought in wars that the galaxy had forgotten. He had buried friends on worlds that no longer existed, and now he was overseeing the end of humanity's place in galactic society. "Sir," said Captain Park Minho, approaching with a datapad, "all colonies have confirmed. The evacuation is proceeding ahead of schedule. We will be out of galactic space in 60 hours. Junho nodded without taking his eyes off the screens. "And the Council's reaction?" "Confusion, mostly. They expected us to fight. Some of their military commanders are calling it a trick. They think we are regrouping for an attack." A small, sad smile crossed Junho's face. "Of course they do. They cannot imagine any other response because they cannot imagine being in our position." He finally turned to face Minho. The captain was young, barely 30, with sharp eyes and a quick mind. Junho saw much of his younger self in this man. "Do you know why we are leaving without fighting?" Junho asked. My NHO hesitated. "Because we would lose?" "No," Junho shook his head. "We would not lose. Our fleet is smaller, but our technology is equal to theirs, and our soldiers fight harder. We could make them bleed for this decision. We could burn a path through their territory that they would remember for 1,000 years. Then why? Because that is what they expect. That is what they fear. They look at us and see violence. They see chaos. They see a species that will destroy everything around it." Junho's eyes grew distant. "If we fight, we prove them right. We become the monsters they already believe us to be." He placed a hand on Minho's shoulder. "We will leave. We will go so far that they forget we ever existed. And then we will build something so magnificent, so powerful, so beautiful, that when they finally see it again, they will understand how wrong they were." 3 hours later, Junho addressed all of humanity. His face appeared on screens across Earth, across colonies, across every ship in the evacuation fleet. "Citizens of Earth," he said, "today, the Galactic Council has voted to exile us. They have called us dangerous. They have called us unfit to share the stars with them. They have closed their doors and told us we are not welcome." He paused, letting the weight of those words settle. We could be angry. We could be bitter. We could stay and fight for our right to exist among them. Many of you want this. I understand. The desire for justice burns in all of us. His expression hardened. But we will not give them what they expect. We will not become the enemy they have already decided we are. Instead, we will do something they cannot imagine. We will leave. We will go beyond the edges of their maps into space they have never explored. And there, free from their rules, free from their limits, free from their fear, we will become something greater than they ever dreamed possible. He leaned closer to the camera. They fear what we might become. Let us show them they were right to fear, not because we will destroy them, but because we will surpass them. Across human space, people watched in silence. Some cried. Some cheered. Most simply nodded, understanding that their commander was right. On the council station, Elder Tovar watched the broadcast with growing unease. He had expected resistance. He had expected negotiation. He had not expected this quiet, dignified departure. What are they doing? He murmured to himself. Beside him, Ambassador Revan watched the same broadcast with different eyes. He saw a species that had been wounded but not broken. He saw determination that went deeper than anger. They are leaving, Revan said softly. Just as they said they would. But where are they going? Revan shook his head. Somewhere we cannot follow. Somewhere we will never find them. He looked at the elder with something like sorrow in his eyes. And I think we have made a terrible mistake. Tovar dismissed this with a wave of his thin hand. They are primitives. Aggressive, short-lived, emotional. The galaxy is better without them. But deep in his ancient heart, doubt had already taken root. 60 hours later, the last human ship crossed the boundary of galactic space and vanished into the void. No messages were sent. No threats were made. 12 billion humans simply disappeared into the darkness between stars. The galaxy breathed a sigh of relief and moved on. They did not know that this was not an ending. It was a beginning. 100 years passed in the galaxy. Humanity became a story that parents told their children. A warning about what happens when a species grows too fast, becomes too proud. Remember the humans, teachers would say. They reached too high, and they fell. Some younger species did not believe humans had ever existed at all. They thought it was just a myth, a tale created to teach lessons about humility and patience. Elder Tovar lived longer than anyone expected. He was now over 400 years old, kept alive by machines and medicine. He spent his final years in a quiet room overlooking the crystal towers of his homeworld. Sometimes late at night, he would think about the human ambassador who had stood so calmly in his chamber. He would think about her words, her dignity, her silence, and he would wonder if he had done the right thing. But in the region beyond the galaxy's edge, in a place that galactic maps marked simply as empty, something remarkable was happening. The humans had not stopped. Kim Somi had been 28 years old when the exile began. She was an engineer, one of the brightest minds of her generation. While others had mourned the loss of their place in the galaxy, Somi had seen opportunity. They limited us, she told Commander Junho in those early years. Their rules, their treaties, their fears. They told us how fast we could travel, what weapons we could build, what technologies we could explore. Now those limits are gone. She was right. Within 10 years of the exile, Somi and her team had cracked the secret of fold technology. Ships no longer needed to travel through space. They could fold it, bending the fabric of reality to move from one point to another in an instant. What would have taken centuries of travel now took seconds. The galaxy had banned research into this technology. They said it was too dangerous, too unstable. They said it would tear apart the universe itself. Humans did not care what the galaxy said anymore. With full technology, humanity spread across the void like seeds in the wind. They found new stars, new worlds, new resources. In 50 years, they had colonized 300 planets. In 80 years, they had built a civilization that covered more space than the entire Galactic Union. They called it the Outer Reach. Yoon Hana was the chief scientist of Project Rebirth, humanity's effort to push the boundaries of what was possible. She was 97 years old, but she looked no older than 40. This was because of another breakthrough that the galaxy would have forbidden. Humans had learned to defeat death. Not truly, of course. Bodies still wore out. But minds could be transferred, preserved, moved from one form to another. Hannah had died 3 times already, each time waking up in a new body grown just for her. Her memories, her personality, her self-all had continued without pause. We are no longer bound by time, she told her students. We have centuries to learn, to grow, to build. What will we become in 1,000 years? In 10,000? The galaxy cannot imagine it. But we will show them. Commander Junho was now 147 years old. His body had been replaced twice, each time with something stronger, faster, better. But his mind remained sharp, and his purpose remained clear. He had not forgotten the exile. None of them had. We do not seek revenge, he told his officers. Revenge is small. Revenge is what they expect. We seek something greater. We seek to become so far beyond them that revenge becomes meaningless. Admiral Choi Woojin commanded the United Earth Fleet, though fleet was no longer the right word. Under his leadership, Humanity had built an armada of vessels unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ships that carried weapons powered by captured black holes. Ships that could become invisible to every form of detection. Ships that could destroy planets with a single shot. Wujin never used these weapons. He simply built them and waited. One day, he said, we will need them. Not for conquest. Not for revenge. But because the universe is dark and full of dangers that the galaxy cannot imagine. He was right, though he did not yet know it. Captain Park Min-ho had grown old in service. He was now 130 years old, commanding the flagship Silent Departure. His mission was simple. Patrol the border between human space and galactic space. Watch. Listen. Report. He never crossed the border. He never sent messages. He simply observed, a ghost at the edge of known space. They have not changed, he reported to Commander Junho during one of their monthly briefings. The Valori are still fighting the Korath over mining rights in the Outer Rim. The Moran have split into 3 factions, each claiming to be the true government. The Council spends more time debating trade agreements than preparing for actual threats. Junho nodded slowly. And their technology? The same as when we left. Maybe slightly improved. They are afraid to innovate. Afraid to push boundaries. Minho's voice carried a trace of sadness. They had so much potential, but their fear holds them back. This was true. While humanity had leaped forward, the galaxy had crawled. New technologies were debated for decades before being approved. New ideas were rejected as dangerous or destabilizing. The Galactic Council was designed to maintain order, not to encourage growth, and so the galaxy stayed still while humanity raced ahead. Linari had become the Prime, Speaker of the United Earth Parliament. She was 141 years old, and she had served in government for over a century. She remembered standing alone in that council chamber, accepting the exile that was meant to destroy her people. She remembered the fear in Elder Tovar's eyes. They were afraid of us then. She told the Parliament during a session, marking the 100th anniversary of the exile. They called us dangerous because we grew too fast, adapted too quickly, dreamed too big. They thought that by sending us away, they would remove the threat. She paused, looking out at the assembled representatives from 300 human worlds. Instead, they removed our chains. They set us free. And now, 100 years later, we have become something they could never have imagined. Not because we sought power over them, but because we sought to become the best version of ourselves. The Parliament erupted in applause, but not everyone was celebrating deep in the research stations of the Outer Reach. Scientists had detected something troubling. Signals from between galaxies. Patterns that suggested movement, organization, purpose. Something was out there in the void, and it was getting closer. Yunhana studied the data with growing concern. This is not natural, she told her team. These are not random cosmic events. Something is moving toward the galaxy. Something big. Something hungry. She sent her findings to Commander Junho. He read them in silence, his ancient eyes scanning the data with the same sharp focus he had possessed a century ago. How long? He asked. 20 years. Maybe 30. It is hard to say. They are still far away. Junho leaned back in his chair and stared at the ceiling. 20 years. 30 years. After a century of building, of growing, of becoming something new, humanity was about to face its first true test. Do the Galactics know? He asked. No. Their sensors are not advanced enough to detect this. They will not see it coming until it is too late. Junho thought about the council that had exiled his people. He thought about Elder Tovar, probably dead by now. He thought about Ambassador Revan, who had tried to speak against the exile. He thought about all the billions of beings who had no idea what was coming for them. We could warn them. Hannah said quietly. Junho was silent for a long moment. We could, he finally said. But they would not listen. They would think it was a trick, a scheme to return to galactic space. They would debate and argue and investigate until it was too late. He stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars that humanity now called home. No, we will not warn them. We will prepare. We will wait. And when the time comes, when they finally understand what is happening, when they come begging for the monsters they exiled, he turned back to Hannah. We will be ready. Outside the window, 1,000 human ships moved through the darkness, building, patrolling, preparing. The galaxy had forgotten about humanity. They would remember soon enough. Asterisk. The first warning came from a mining colony at the edge of galactic space. A routine message sent every standard day simply stopped. When investigators arrived, they found nothing. The colony was gone. The planet was gone. Only a field of dust remained where a world had once existed. The Galactic Council dismissed it as a natural disaster. Perhaps an unstable core. Perhaps a rogue asteroid. These things happened. Then a second colony went silent. Then a third. Then an entire star system. High Warden Celis was the military commander of the Galactic Union. He was a veteran of a dozen wars. A strategic genius who had never lost a battle. When the reports started coming in, he knew immediately that this was not a natural disaster. Something is attacking us, he told the council. Something we have never seen before. Elder Tavar was dead. He had passed quietly in his sleep 10 years earlier, still wondering about the humans he had exiled. The new council leader was younger, less experienced, and more afraid. What do we do? She asked. We fight, Celis said. We gather our fleets. We find this enemy, and we destroy them. But this enemy was not like any they had faced before. The Galactics called them the Hollow, because that was what they left behind. Hollow worlds, hollow systems, hollow space where life had once existed. The Hollow were not a species in any normal sense. They were a swarm, a collection of billions of individual units that moved and thought as one. Each unit was small, no larger than a human fist. But together, they formed clouds that could block out stars, fleets that could darken entire sectors. They did not conquer. They did not negotiate. They simply consumed. Everything they touched was broken down into raw materials and absorbed into the swarm. Planets, ships, stations, people, all of it became fuel for their endless hunger. Celis gathered the largest fleet in galactic history. 400,000 ships from every species in the Union. They met the Hollow at the Korath border, in a system that had already been marked for death. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, Celis was dead. 370,000 ships had been destroyed. The remaining survivors fled in all directions, bringing news of the disaster to every corner of the galaxy. The Hollow did not pause to celebrate their victory. They simply continued forward, consuming everything in their path. Ambassador Revan had survived the exile debate a century ago. He was old now, very old, but he still served on the council. He had watched his colleagues dismiss the humans, mock them, forget them. He had watched the galaxy grow complacent and weak, and now he watched it die. There must be something we can do, the council leader pleaded during an emergency session. Some weapon, some alliance, some solution. Revan stood slowly, his old bones creaking. Every eye turned to him. There is one possibility, he said, but you will not like it. Anything. We will consider anything. Revan took a deep breath. The humans. Silence fell over the chamber. The humans are gone, someone said. They have been gone for 100 years. No, Revan said. They left. There's a difference. They went beyond our borders, into space we have never explored. They could still be out there, and if they are, why would they help us? We exiled them. We called them monsters. Revan nodded. Yes, we did. And perhaps they will refuse. Perhaps they will watch us burn and feel satisfied. But I remember the human ambassador. I remember her dignity, her calm, her refusal to become what we accused her of being. He looked around the chamber. Humans are many things, but they are not petty. They might help us simply because they can. This is foolish, the council leader said. Even if they exist, even if we could find them, they could not possibly have the power to stop the Hollow. No one does. Then we have nothing to lose by trying. 3 days later, Revan stole a small ship from the council station. He programmed the course into the navigation system, pointing toward the void beyond the galaxy's edge. The place where humans had vanished a century ago. He did not expect to find anything. He expected to die alone in empty space, an old man chasing a foolish hope. Instead, after 2 weeks of travel, his sensors detected something impossible. Ships. Thousands of them. Massive vessels that dwarfed anything the galaxy had ever built. They hung in space like sleeping giants, arranged in perfect formations, around stations that could have held entire populations. Revan's small ship was surrounded immediately. Weapons locked onto him from every direction. A voice came through his communication system, speaking in perfect galactic standard. Unknown vessel. You have entered human space. Identify yourself or be destroyed. Revan's hands trembled as he responded. I am Ambassador Revan of the Korath delegation. I have come seeking humanity's help. The galaxy is dying. There was a long pause. Hold your position. You will be escorted to Command Station 7. Revan obeyed. As his ship was guided through the human territory, he stared out the window in shock. This was not a scattered collection of refugees hiding in the darkness. This was an empire, a civilization that had grown far beyond anything he could have imagined. He was brought to a massive station at the center of the human fleet. Guards in advanced armor led him through corridors that hummed with power. Finally, he was brought to a simple room with a large window overlooking the stars. Commander Kan Junho was waiting for him. Revan had seen images of Junho from a century ago. The man before him looked barely changed. The same strong jaw, the same sharp eyes, the same steady presence. Only something in those eyes hinted at the decades of experience behind them. Ambassador Revan, Junho said. I remember you. You voted against our exile. I did. Revan's voice cracked. I was the only one. I know. Junho gestured to a chair. Sit. Tell me why you have come. Revan sat and told him everything. The Hollow, the destruction, the failed battle, the dying worlds. As he spoke, he watched Junho's face for any reaction, any sign of emotion. He saw nothing. When Revan finished, Junho stood and walked to the window. We know about the Hollow, he said. Revan's heart stopped. You know, we've been tracking them for 50 years. Our scientists detected them long before your sensors could. We have studied them, analyzed them, prepared for them. Then why? Revan's voice rose with desperation. Why did you do nothing? Why did you let them attack us? Junho turned to face him. His expression was calm, but there was something cold in his eyes. We were exiled, Ambassador. We were told that we were too dangerous for the galaxy, that our presence threatened galactic peace, that we were not welcome among civilized species. He paused. We honored that verdict. We stayed in our space. We did not interfere. Revan felt tears forming in his eyes. Billions are dying. Entire species are being wiped out. And you just watched? We watched, Junho confirmed. Just as you watched when we were cast out. Just as you did nothing when our colonies were stripped away, our people scattered, our future destroyed. His voice hardened. You made your choice 100 years ago. We made ours. Revan fell to his knees. It was not planned, not theatrical. His old legs simply gave out beneath the weight of despair. Please, he whispered. I know we wronged you. I know we were cruel and foolish and blind. But there are children dying out there. Innocent beings who had nothing to do with the exile. They do not deserve this. Junho looked down at the old ambassador kneeling before him. For a long moment. Neither spoke. Then Junho extended his hand. Get up. Ambassador. Revan took the hand and rose slowly. Your council meets tomorrow? Junho asked. What remains of it? Yes. Then we will meet as well. The Parliament of the Outer Reach will decide humanity's response. Junho's eyes softened slightly. I cannot promise anything. Many of our people remember the exile. Many would be happy to watch the galaxy burn. But you? Revan asked. What would you do? Junho walked back to the window, looking out at the vast human fleet that floated in the darkness. I became a soldier to protect people, he said quietly. Not just humans. People. Beings who could not protect themselves. He was silent for a moment. The galaxy hurt us. But pain does not give us the right to become what they accused us of being. He turned back to Revan. Rest tonight, Ambassador. Tomorrow, we will see what humanity has become. Revan was given quarters more comfortable than anything on the council station. He lay awake all night staring at the ceiling, wondering if he had just witnessed humanity's greatest moment or its final rejection of the galaxy that had abandoned them. Outside, the human fleet waited in perfect silence, ready for whatever decision would come. In the distance, far across the void, the Hollow continued their relentless march toward the heart of galactic civilization. The Parliament of the Outer Reach met in a chamber carved from the core of an asteroid. 300 representatives from 300 human worlds sat in rising tiers, their faces lit by soft lights embedded in the stone walls. Linari stood at the center, just as she had stood at the center of the Galactic Council chamber over a century ago. But this time, she was not receiving judgment. She was seeking guidance. You all know why we are here, she said. Her voice carried clearly through the silent chamber. The galaxy is dying. The Hollow are consuming everything in their path. The species that exiled us are being destroyed one by one. She paused, letting the weight of those words settle. Ambassador Revan has come to us, begging for help. The same council that called us monsters, that threw us into the darkness, now asks us to save them. She looked around the chamber. The question before us is simple. Do we help them? The debate began immediately. Admiral Choi Woojin spoke first. He was 215 years old, his body rebuilt 6 times, his mind as sharp as ever. He had built the human fleet from nothing. He had prepared for this moment for decades. We must help them, he said. Not for their sake, for ours. The Hollow will not stop at galactic borders. They will continue until there is nothing left to consume. Eventually, they will find us. We can fight them in galactic space, far from our homes, or we can wait until they arrive at our doorstep. Let them come, called a representative from the outer colonies. We have weapons they cannot imagine. We can defend ourselves without risking our people in a war that is not ours. Can we? Woojin replied. We have studied the Hollow for 50 years. They adapt. They evolve. Every battle teaches them. If we let them consume the galaxy, they will become stronger than anything we can defeat. Captain Park Minho stood next. He had patrolled the border between human space and the galaxy for 100 years. He had watched the galactics from the shadows, never crossing, never interfering. I have spent my life watching them, he said. I have seen their wars, their politics, their petty conflicts. They are weak. They are fearful. They have not grown in a century because they are afraid to try. He paused. But I have also seen their children playing in parks. Their artists creating beauty. Their teachers passing knowledge to new generations. They are flawed, yes, but they do not deserve extinction. Neither did we, someone shouted from the upper tiers. We did not deserve exile, but they gave it to us anyway. The chamber erupted in argument. Old wounds, buried for decades, rose to the surface. The memory of the exile was still fresh in many minds, passed down through generations like a scar that would not heal. Nari raised her hand, and slowly, the chamber fell silent. I stood before the Galactic Council 100 years ago, she said. I heard them call us dangerous. I heard them vote to cast us out. I felt the weight of their fear and their contempt. Her eyes swept across the chamber. I remember everything, and I have not forgiven them. She took a breath. But forgiveness is not what they are asking for. They are asking for survival. And we must decide what kind of people we are. Are we the monsters they believed us to be? Are we the species that watches billions die because our pride was wounded? Or are we something else? Something better? She turned to face Commander Junho, who had been sitting silently throughout the debate. Commander, you have led us through the darkness. You have shaped what we have become. What do you say? Junho rose slowly. The chamber went completely silent. 100 years ago, he said, I told humanity that we would show the galaxy they were right to fear us. Not because we would destroy them, but because we would surpass them. He looked around at the assembled representatives. We have done that. We have built a civilization that makes their greatest achievements look like children's toys. We have conquered death. We have mastered space itself. We have become everything they feared, and more. He walked to the center of the chamber, standing beside Nari. Now comes the test. Now we discover what all our power means. Do we use it to protect ourselves while others die? Do we use it for revenge, letting the galaxy burn for the crime of not believing in us? His voice rose. Or do we use it for something greater? Do we become the protectors of life itself, not because the galaxy deserves it, but because that is who we choose to be? He was silent for a long moment. I vote yes. We help them. Not for them. For us. Because I will not become the monster they accused me of being. The vote was called. One by one, the representatives made their choice. Some voted no, their anger at the exile still burning bright. But most, looking at their commander, looking at their history, looking at the people they had become, voted yes. The final count was 247 to 53. Humanity would return. The mobilization began immediately. Kim Somi, now over 200 years old and on her 9th body, oversaw the preparation of the fleet. 10,000 ships were selected for the initial deployment. Each one carried weapons that could crack planets, shields that could withstand supernovas, drives that could cross the galaxy in moments. Remember, she told her engineering teams, these vessels are the most powerful ever built. But power alone does not win wars. Precision wins wars. Control wins wars. We do not waste our strength. We use exactly what is needed, nothing more. Yumhana coordinated the scientific teams that would accompany the fleet. The Hollow were unlike any enemy humanity had faced. They would need to adapt, to learn, to develop new strategies in real time. The Hollow are a collective intelligence, she explained to her scientists. They share information instantly across their entire swarm. But that is also their weakness. If we can disrupt their communication, even for a moment, we can create confusion. We can exploit gaps in their coordination. Admiral Wujin organized the battle plan. Unlike galactic forces, human ships would not form lines or hold positions. They would use their full drives to appear and disappear unpredictably, striking weak points and vanishing before the Hollow could respond. "We fight like ghosts," he told his captains. "We are everywhere and nowhere. We do not give them a target to focus on. We do not let them adapt to a pattern because there is no pattern." Captain Minho was given command of the vanguard. He would lead the first wave into galactic space. "I have waited 100 years for this," he told his crew as they prepared to launch. "Not for revenge, not for glory, but to show them what humanity became in the darkness they sent us into." 3 days after the parliamentary vote, the human fleet was ready. I sent a message to Ambassador Revan, who was still waiting anxiously on the command station. "Your request has been granted. Humanity will help defend the galaxy. Tell your council that we are coming." Revan wept when he received the message. He did not know if they were tears of relief, gratitude, or shame. Perhaps all three. The full sequence began. 10,000 human ships activated their drives simultaneously. Space itself bent around them, twisted, folded. In the span of a heartbeat, they vanished from the outer reach and appeared at the edge of galactic space. The Hollow were currently consuming the Valori homeworld. It was the same world where Elder Tavar had lived and died. The same world where the Council had first voted to exile humanity. Now human ships filled the sky above it. Captain Minho looked at the swarm below, billions of individual units covering the planet like a living shadow. He felt no fear. He felt no anger. He felt only purpose. "All ships," he said calmly. "Engage." The first human weapon fired. It was a quantum disruptor, designed by Kim Somi herself. It did not explode. It did not burn. It simply tore a hole in reality, and everything within its range ceased to exist. A gap appeared in the swarm. Millions of hollow units vanished in an instant. Then another weapon fired. And another. And another. The swarm tried to adapt. They turned toward the human ships, ready to overwhelm them with numbers. But the ships were already gone, folded to new positions, firing from different angles. The Hollow had never faced an enemy like this. Every tactic they attempted failed. Every formation they created was disrupted. They could not catch what they could not predict. Below, on the surface of the Valori homeworld, survivors looked up at the sky in disbelief. Human ships, the species they had exiled, the monsters they had feared, were fighting to save them. Some wept. Some prayed. Some simply watched in silent amazement. The battle lasted for 3 days. When it was over, the hollow swarm at Valori had been reduced by 90%. The survivors fled into deep space, their collective mind reeling from the damage it had suffered. Humanity had won its first battle, but the war was far from over. The Hollow were vast, spread across thousands of light years. It would take years to defeat them completely. Captain Minho stood on his bridge, looking at the planet they had saved. "Send a message to the surface," he said. "Tell them they are safe now. Tell them the humans have returned." A communication officer hesitated. "What if they do not want to hear from us?" Minho smiled slightly. "Then they can ignore it. But they should know who saved them." He paused. "And they should know that we did not do it for gratitude. We did it because it was right." The message was sent. On the surface, the Valori Council leader received it with trembling hands. She read it 3 times, unable to believe what she was seeing. Then she looked up at the sky, where human ships still patrolled, protecting her world. The war lasted 4 years. Humanity fought across the galaxy, driving the Hollow back system by system, world by world. Human ships appeared where they were needed, struck without mercy, and vanished before the swarm could respond. The Hollow tried to adapt, but humans adapted faster. Every new tactic the swarm developed was countered within days. Every formation they created was broken within hours. Kim Somi led a strike team into the heart of the hollow command structure. It was a living vessel, larger than a moon, covered in biological sensors and communication nodes that coordinated the entire swarm. If we destroy this, she told her team, we cut off their brain. The individual units will not know what to do. They will become confused, uncoordinated. Easy targets. The mission was dangerous. Many volunteers did not return. But Shomi herself planted the final device, a quantum collapse bomb that could destroy anything within 1,000 kilometers. When the bomb went off, the explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. The hollow command vessel was gone in an instant, along with billions of connected units. Across the galaxy, the remaining hollow fell into chaos. Without their central intelligence to guide them, they became mindless, directionless. Human ships hunted them down one group at a time. But by the end of the 4th year, the hollow were gone. Not just defeated, gone. Humanity had not stopped at winning the war. They had followed the remaining swarms into deep space and destroyed them completely. No survivors. No chance of return. The galaxy was safe, but the galaxy was also broken. Of the 32 species that had voted to exile humanity, only 12 remained with enough population to function. The rest had been reduced to scattered refugees, their homeworlds consumed, their cultures destroyed. The Galactic Council reconvened for the first time in 3 years. They met in a temporary station, hastily built after their original council chamber was destroyed. The surviving delegates looked tired, worn, haunted by everything they had witnessed. Ambassador Revan was there. He had survived the war, serving as a liaison between humanity and the galactic remnants. He had seen what humans could do in battle. He had also seen how they treated prisoners, refugees, survivors. They had been fierce, but not cruel. Powerful, but not tyrannical. They had been everything the galaxy had feared and everything it had needed. The Council. Leader the same one who had dismissed Revan's suggestion to seek humanity's help stood before the assembly. We have a request to make, she said. Her voice was weak, broken by years of loss. We would like to invite a human delegation to address the council. The invitation was sent. 3 days later, a human shuttle arrived at the station. Linari stepped off the shuttle, followed by Commander Junho, Admiral Woojin, Captain Minho, and Kim Somi. They wore simple uniforms, no decorations, no displays of power. They walked into the council chamber like ordinary visitors, but nothing about them was ordinary. The surviving delegates could feel it. These were beings who had conquered death, mastered space, defeated an enemy that had destroyed half the galaxy. They were more than human now. They were something new. The council leader approached Nari. She bowed deeply, a gesture of respect that no council leader had ever given to another species. Prime Speaker Lee, she said, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I thank you for what humanity has done. You saved us. You saved everyone. Nari nodded but said nothing. We were wrong, the council leader continued. Everything we believed about your species was wrong. You were not the monsters we feared. You were heroes. She took a shaky breath. We would like to offer you a place on the council, not just as a member, as leaders. We want humanity to guide us, to protect us, to help us rebuild. The chamber was silent. Every delegate watched, waiting for the human response. Nari looked at Junho. He nodded slightly. She looked at Woojin, at Minho, at Somi. They all gave the same small nod. Then she turned back to the council leader. No. The word hung in the air like a physical thing. No? The council leader's face showed confusion, then fear. You refuse? Why? We are offering you everything. Leadership, power, control of the entire galaxy. We do not want control. Nari said calmly. We do not want power over you. That was never our goal. She stepped forward, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. 100 years ago, you exiled us. You called us dangerous. You said we were unfit to share the stars with civilized species. And we accepted that verdict. We left without fighting. We went into the darkness alone. She paused. In that darkness, we built something new. Not because we wanted to prove you wrong. Not because we wanted revenge. But because that is what humans do. We build. We grow. We become more than we were. She looked around at the delegates, meeting their eyes one by one. You want us to lead you, but we will not. We will not become your rulers. We will not make your decisions. We will not take responsibility for your future. Her voice softened slightly. That is your burden to carry. It always has been. The council leader looked devastated. Then why did you help us? Why did you fight and die for species that hated you? Nari smiled. It was the first genuine smile she had shown since entering the chamber. Because that is also what humans do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. Not because they deserve it. Not because they ask for it. But because it is right. Commander Junho stepped forward. We will be your neighbors, he said. We will trade with you. We will share knowledge with you. If another threat emerges, we will defend you again. His eyes hardened. But we will not join your council. We will not follow your rules. We will not ask permission to exist. Admiral Wujin spoke next. Your council was built on fear. Fear of change, fear of growth, fear of anything different. That fear led you to exile us. That same fear left you helpless against the Hollow. He shook his head. We have no interest in being part of an organization built on fear. Kim Somi added her voice. We have spent a century learning, building, evolving. We will continue to do so. If you want to join us on that journey, you are welcome. But you will have to change. You will have to become something more than you are. She smiled slightly. We can help you with that. But only if you want it. Captain Minho was the last to speak. I watched you for 100 years, he said. I saw your wars, your politics, your failures. And I saw your potential. You have good people among you. Kind people. Creative people. People who deserve a chance to grow. He looked at the council leader. Be worthy of them. Build something better than what you had. That is how you honor the ones you lost. The humans turned to leave. Ambassador Revan called out to them. Will we see you again? Nari stopped at the door and looked back. Yes, we will be watching. We will be nearby. And if you ever truly need us, she smiled, you will not have to ask. The humans left the council chamber and returned to their shuttle. As they flew back toward their fleet, Junho looked out the window at the broken galaxy below. Do you think they will change? Minho asked. Junho was silent for a moment. Some will. Some will learn from this. They will grow, evolve, become something better. He paused. Others will not. They will fall back into old patterns, old fears. They will make the same mistakes again. And us? Somi asked. What will we do? We will continue, Nari said. We will explore. We will build. We will become something the universe has never seen. She looked at her companions, her friends, her family, the people who had shared a century of exile and transformation. And when the galaxy looks up at the stars and wonders what is out there, they will see us. They will see what humanity became when we were set free. The shuttle docked with the flagship's silent departure. Captain Minho took his place on the bridge and ordered the fleet to prepare for the journey home. 10,000 human ships turned toward the void, toward the outer reach, toward the civilization they had built in the darkness. Behind them, The survivors of the Galactic War watched them go. Some felt fear. Some felt awe. Some felt hope. And somewhere in the rebuilt council chamber, a young delegate was already drafting a new proposal. A proposal to end the laws that limited innovation. A proposal to encourage growth instead of fear. A proposal to become something better. It would take years. Maybe decades. Maybe centuries. But the seed had been planted. Humanity had shown them what was possible. Now, it was their turn to reach for it. The human fleet folded space and vanished, leaving behind only starlight and silence. The galaxy had exiled them. They had returned as something greater. And now, as they disappeared into the endless void, they carried with them a simple truth that the universe would never forget. Humanity did not need the galaxy. But in its darkest hour, the galaxy had needed humanity. That was enough. That was everything.